Is it better to be a racist or a racist hypocrite? A question for the Prime Minister of Australia, for the Deputy Prime Minister, for the Attorney General.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Martin Luther King.
To Kevin Rudd, Julia Gillard, Robert McClelland, the Commonwealth of Australia has been put on notice for acts of bad faith, racial discrimination, perversion of justice, constituting genocide and crimes against humanity.
Is it better to be a racist or a racist hypocrite?
Australia's Indigenous peoples, the most disadvantaged. Black deaths in custody. Lack of health services leading to deaths. Lack of education. Lack of employment. Lack of access to legal resources.
Indigenous peoples are being deprived of the protection of the Racial Discrimination Act under Labour. Another broken election promise.
Is Racial Discrimination Act worthless?
The High Court Australia, the Federal Court Australia, have labelled the Racial Discrimination Act a general rule. The Australian Judiciary has acted in bad faith and dishonourably, racial discriminatory, and conspiring to pervert justice. Is the Racial Discrimination Act worthless?
Calling the Human Rights Commission incompetent is doing them a favour. They are racially discriminatory in protecting their white mates, at the expense of public safety, perverting the Human Rights Act, shielding racist judges and lawyers. Michael Kirby, High Court Australia, has labelled the High Court Australia under Robert French racist.
Senate inquiry on access to justice. Senate inquiry on the roles of judges in the Australian legal system were whitewashed by the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committees, chaired by Senators Barnett and Crosshone, both Liberal and Labour.
To distrust the judiciary marks the beginning of the end of society. Honoré de Balzac.
A legal challenge will be issued by the Genocide Centre Melbourne, against the anti-intervention into the lives, well-being and properties of Indigenous peoples, alleging breaches of the International Covenant on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, acting in bad faith, and racial profiling by the High Court Australia, alleging breaches of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights Article 17, among others.
To distrust the judiciary. Unlawful racial discrimination. Perversion of justice. Corruption of the principle of separation of powers, the executive from the judiciary. By the High Court Australia. By the Federal Court Australia. We expect the Attorney Generals to attend to defend these charges, and not to have the judges do the dirty work for them.
The Commonwealth has two options. 1. Secede from United Nations human rights treaties, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, International Covenant on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, among others. Or 2. Give back the Rule of Law, Human Rights and Equal Opportunity Act, and People's Grand Jury.
The White Australia policy has been maintained by the Australian politicians, by the Australian Judiciary, the police, by the Human Rights Commission, other statutory bodies including court registries, Medical Board of Victoria, protected by the Australian Judiciary, and in silence by the Australian media.